Prince Harry. Let's give him a round of applause. At last, he has taken his children to see their granddad.
Does this put us in a situation where there is a constitutional crisis?
This has been an extraordinarily disastrous week.
Because for years we heard that the obstacle that was standing between Harry, Meghan, and these children was the UK thing around security. It just wasn't going to be safe. What changed?
There isn't a laundry in the cosmos big enough to wash all the dirty linen he has aired about his own family. For him to complain about his privacy being invaded takes not just the biscuit, but the whole tin.
Prince Harry, let's take a moment to genuinely applaud him for this. At long last, he's brought his children to visit their grandfather. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not here to declare who's right or wrong in all of this. That's not my place. But this is how I personally view the whole situation, and it's important to unpack it. King Charles, despite everything that has unfolded between him and his family, understands that his grandchildren are innocent. They bear no responsibility for the challenges or tensions involving their parents. He simply wants to meet them, to build that connection, and that speaks volumes.
With the award, and as it was handed over to William and his teammates, when one of the players nearly dropped the award, and William and Catherine, they just laughed it off. It was a lighthearted moment, but it was so nice to see so much PDA from them during this match, because they are coming out so strong amongst all the controversies that we're seeing that are happening right now with Harry and Meghan and the children visiting with the king. But you know what? Hey, they're out there doing their thing and looking all loved up on each other. And I just love it, because this is a moment where they're going to shine no matter what the king is doing. But hats off to Catherine and William. We love you guys.
Throughout my life, I've come across several people who found themselves in delicate family dynamics, especially when they married into new families. Many have had to learn to tolerate difficult relationships, not always by choice, because they wanted their own children to experience the love, presence, and continuity of grandparents, even if it meant navigating some uncomfortable situations with their new in-laws. This is a common story, grandparents enduring certain strains to ensure that grandchildren don't miss out on essential family bonds. King Charles, at 77 years old, is facing a serious health challenge. He has cancer, and unfortunately, it's a form that doesn't offer an easy or certain cure.
Time to assess it calmly. And this is going to be my views. I'm not saying that anyone else is right or wrong, but this is personally how I feel about this entire situation. King Charles is a grandfather who, despite everything that's happened, knows that his grandchildren are completely innocent in all of their parents' actions, and he wants to meet them. I've met a few people in my lifetime that have had to put up with certain people that have married into their family, for example, or even a family member, because they want to see the rest of the family if there's children involved. I've seen this happen where grandparents have to put up with a daughter or son's spouse because they know that if they say anything, they will not get to see their grandchildren.
Knowing this, he took a step that many might have thought was impossible. He became the one to initiate and arrange this precious meeting. This act alone carries a deeply emotional weight. It reflects a desire to connect across the divides and to place the innocence and future of his grandchildren above the past conflicts. I want to take a moment to reflect on just how significant this gesture truly is, especially given everything that's happened before it. Could it be that Harry and Meghan are finally stepping back, driven by genuine heartfelt reasons? The idea sounds hopeful, but honestly, it's hard to believe. Are they truly putting their children's well-being above everything else? Or maybe, just maybe, showing respect for King Charles's feelings? Once again, that seems like a long shot. And what about the idea they've completely changed their ways, no more behind-the-scenes maneuvering or secret plans, a total 180 on that front? I wouldn't hold my breath. At first, there were whispers that the Queen wouldn't be seeing Harry at all. Yet now, reports suggest she was actually there, present during crucial moments. This twist has sparked a lot of curiosity.
I believe that King Charles is 77 years old, that he has cancer, and it seems that it's not the curable kind, and he was the one that finally facilitated having this meet-up with them. Now, are Harry and Meghan doing it for good reasons, for pure of heart reasons? Highly unlikely. Are Harry and Meghan finally putting their children first and putting the King's feelings first? Again, highly unlikely. Do I think that Harry and Meghan have suddenly had a change of heart and they've stopped all their conniving and plotting? Does a leopard change its spots? Again, highly unlikely.
People are starting to wonder if security concerns were really the only reason the family seemed so distant for so long. Was the issue as simple as protecting everyone's safety, or was there something much deeper playing out beneath the surface? This is where the story gets even more complex, because King Charles now finds himself caught between a rock and a hard place. It's a situation that's almost impossible to navigate perfectly. Think about it. He's not just the monarch, he's a father too, and those roles often pull him in opposite directions. On the one hand, as a dad, he looks at Harry not just as the prince, but as his son, and has to consider his feelings, his flaws, and the history they share. On the other hand, as king, he's responsible for the monarchy, the legacy, and maintaining stability in a family that has been anything but simple. It's a balancing act that could make anyone's head spin, and it's precisely this tension that adds so much weight to every decision Charles makes. Does he prioritize fatherly love and forgiveness? Or does he uphold the responsibilities and traditions of the crown, even when it means putting family matters aside? The answers aren't clear, and perhaps that's why the story continues to unfold with such suspense and drama. But here's where I want to offer a different perspective, because this situation isn't just black and white. There are shades of complexity that aren't always easy to see at first glance.
See from William and Catherine, and to get some insight into the work of the real royals. But what I think is so interesting is that William was playing polo when news came out that Harry, Meghan, and the children met with the king and the queen at Highgrove. So everyone is asking the same question: what changed? Because for years we heard that the obstacle that was standing between Harry, Meghan, and these children was the UK thing around security. It just wasn't going to be safe. And Harry said that he could not bring his family back without the protection that he actually felt was necessary. But now I want you to imagine this. So if Meghan and Harry and these children are able to come back, and if they're able to walk through those palace doors and then sit down privately with the king and queen, because at first I heard that the queen was not going to see Harry, but now we're hearing that the queen was there as well. And many people are actually going to ask, was security really the only thing that was keeping the family apart? Was that really truly the issue?
When it comes to seeing his son, Charles seems caught in a whirlwind of complex emotions. Deep down, he knows Harry has done and said some things that have made their relationship difficult. Throughout the years, Harry has openly criticized his father, often holding him accountable for how things unfolded around the marriage of Diana and Charles. This has left Charles carrying a heavy weight of guilt, and you can sense that he's desperately trying to navigate these troubled waters. It feels like Charles wants to connect, to repair the fractured relationship, especially now that Harry has children of his own. The idea of being a grandfather has stirred something in him, a genuine hope to mend fences and offer the support Harry needs. On the other side, there's Harry, who hasn't shied away from expressing his pain and frustrations. It seems he has placed a kind of emotional burden on his father, a reminder of past disappointments and wounds that still run deep. This dynamic between them is complicated, part longing, part conflict, and laced with years of unresolved feelings. Meanwhile, the king appears to be making an effort, trying to feed into the possibility of healing, sensing that this relationship is worth fighting for. He understands that these moments of connection could pave the way for something new, a chance to move beyond old grievances. But the public eye is never far from this story. People watch all of it unfold with a mix of sympathy, skepticism, and vivid memories. They haven't forgotten those headline-grabbing interviews where Harry and Meghan aired their grievances, the raw and painful revelations that captured global attention.
Or was there something much deeper that was happening? And this is where King Charles finds himself in an almost impossible position. He really does. But I have a counter to that. But here is the situation, because there is Charles. He is a father, okay? But he is also the king. He is also the king. And the father side of all of this looks at Harry, his son, and he's like, okay, I need to see my son. He's thinking, okay, I've done some things, and Harry has given his dad a hard time about a lot of things around the marriage of Diana and Charles. And so there is this guilt that Charles, I think, feels with Harry, that he tries to, I think, play into Harry's woes, okay? And now we have Harry with his children, and then there is this desire for, I think, the king to want to feed into this relationship to help repair it, because Harry, I believe, has put a big guilt trip on his father.
Many still recall the impactful books filled with revelations that painted a fuller picture of the royal family's inner struggles. And then there was the groundbreaking Oprah interview, etched into the collective memory, where Meghan made serious claims about the royal household, touching on race and bias in a way that sent shockwaves. These accusations, especially those implied against the King and Catherine, felt like a seismic shift in the public's perception, subtle yet powerful, conveyed through the narrative in that controversial book, Endgame. The whispers of discontent, the veiled insinuations, all combined to keep the story alive in everyone's mind, making the possibility of reconciliation even more intense, yet fragile. All right, let's dive into the drama swirling around the royal family, and yes, the so-called Scooby-Doo guy is right in the mix. Meghan Markle? Apparently, she's not exactly flying under the radar here. Word on the street is that Meghan might have had a hand in the king being pushed under the bus, metaphorically speaking. But that's only half the story. It's also rumored that Meghan was the one who leaked details about the secretive meeting between the king, Harry, Meghan, and the kids. This wasn't just any meeting. It was quietly linked to an event with a bigger purpose, a year-long lead-up to the Birmingham Games in 2027, a cause supported even by the king's toughest critics within the palace walls.
But then you have the public who are looking at this and saying, well, we remember all of the interviews. We remember all of the accusations. I wrote a song, do you remember, okay? We remember the books because I want people to remember, right? They're the documentaries, the Oprah interview. We can't forget that also Meghan accused the king and Catherine of being the royal racists. And we saw how sneaky they said it vicariously through that book Endgame with the Omid guy, okay, the Scooby-Doo guy, okay? So you ain't slick, Meghan. So we know that the king has been pushed under a bus, and it's been by Meghan. But what is also interesting is that Meghan, they are saying she's the one that leaked the meeting of the king with Harry and Meghan and the children.
It's centered on wounded veterans, and unlike most royal headlines, this one isn't about the drama, it's about a meaningful mission. Now this meeting, tucked away quietly near the end of a week already dedicated to such a noble cause, feels like either an incredible coincidence or a masterclass in royal timing. The royals have been known for orchestrating events like this for over a century, carefully choosing when and how they reveal things. So, while the timing might be strategic, it doesn't make the emotions involved any less real. Deep inside the palace, feelings are intense, complicated, and very human. Somebody somewhere clearly put a lot of thought into picking this exact week for the reunion. And it's important to remember, this gathering almost never saw the light of day. Just days earlier, the entire visit was teetering on the edge of collapse because of a very public and tense standoff involving Harry. The stakes were high, emotions were raw, and the whole situation could have unraveled before it even began. The battle over security funding has been a relentless thread woven through this family's story since 2020, a challenge that shows no signs of truly fading away.
So a lot of people are really asking, where is the accountability before the reunion? We know that Harry wanted an apology before coming back. Like, there's all these things that they said, his security. So we can see that things have been pushed to the side so that there can be a reunion. But then I ask this question, what about Thomas Markle Sr.? You're so quick to reunite with the king, who you called a racist, Meghan Markle, but you won't even go see your own father, considering what has happened to him and his leg being amputated.
In fact, this past week felt like a roller coaster. For several days, reports swirled that Meghan and the children travelling to join Harry in Britain was nearly off the table. A reunion that once seemed hopeful suddenly looked doubtful. Headlines flipped back and forth, going from cancelled to uncertain, before, almost out of nowhere, Friday morning brought surprising news. The trip was back on. It was as if a crucial phone call, or maybe a decisive decision behind closed doors, reset the whole situation. The gap between unlikely and confirmed isn't just a footnote, it speaks volumes. This reunion was anything but straightforward or seamless. It was hard-won, negotiated fiercely until the very last moment by people on both sides who clearly desired it, perhaps even more than they dared to publicly admit. But there's a quieter, almost hidden layer to this story that few outlets have mentioned, yet something profoundly symbolic and deeply personal. The family isn't just staying anywhere. They've chosen Althorpe, the sprawling estate that was the childhood home of Harry's late mother, Princess Diana. This historic property, steeped in memories and heartache, is also where Diana's final resting place lies. Out of every possible residence in all of England, Harry selected the one that places his children just a short walk from a gravesite that has meant so much to him, a place where he has spent countless moments reflecting on loss.
So we know there's an underlying reason why Meghan has agreed to do this. I know that Harry is doing this because it's very emotional for him to have his father see the children. But there is a big overarching problem that they will never be able to resolve, and I'm going to tell you that here in a second. But this is the difficult part with King Charles, because forgiveness is personal, and a father, he can forgive his son overnight rather quickly. This institution should have never given the leeway to Meghan. I think Meghan should have had to have apologized before the king met with her. He can meet with the kids, but that woman should have stayed her butt on the outside, considering what she has done. But we don't know. Maybe she did apologize privately, okay? But the fact is, the monarchy can only survive because of the relationship that it has with its people. This is between the crown and the people. And a lot of people within the public feel, hold up, wait a minute. We defended the monarchy through all of this. And now everyone just walks right back in the front door like nothing ever happened.
Legacy and love. This choice tells its own powerful story about family, remembrance, and the profound ties that continue to bind Harry's past to his present. For 30 long years, he's been wrestling with the ghosts of his past, trying to find peace in a world that often feels anything but peaceful. Call it a calculated strategy if you must, a slow, deliberate attempt to mend fences. But at its heart, it's something far more personal, a father quietly reaching out, trying to give his children the sense of family and belonging that he himself was denied far too early in life. Both perspectives hold truth, and this family's story has never made it easy to pick a side or even figure out which version feels more authentic. Right now, somewhere deep within the ornate halls of Kensington Palace, there's an entire communications team scrambling, trying to shape a narrative around the king sharing a simple dinner with his grandchildren. Their challenge? How to turn that seemingly ordinary event into a headline that doesn't accidentally reveal the uncomfortable truth. The future King of England chose a competing priority, a horse event over a long-anticipated homecoming dinner. Imagine the pressure. It's a task so delicate, so loaded with unspoken tension, that no one would envy it for a second. This isn't just spin, this is tightrope walking between duty, family, and public perception.
William is not just thinking about his brother, he is preparing for the future of the monarchy. And I think it was intentional that William would not be around when Harry and Meghan came. He's off playing polo, as we saw. And we can also see that William, he can start to rebuild on a new kind of a monarchy, understanding that things are going to change substantially when the king passes. So how do you rebuild trust without first addressing why everything is broken? How does that even happen? And I think the biggest question is not whether Charles loves Harry. Of course, the father is going to love his son despite him acting like a wackadoodle. But the bigger question really is, can the king repair his family despite what they did to him? And also request that Meghan also repairs things with her father. So the bigger question becomes, can the king repair his family without making the public feel like the loyalty that they have has been forgotten?
But before we dive any deeper into this complicated web, I want to pause for a moment to hear from you, because I know I'm not alone in wrestling with these conflicting emotions. If you believe that no matter what's been said in memoirs, a father always has the right to reach out to his son, drop a Team Charles in the comments below. If you feel some fractures, some bridges burnt in the past, are meant to stay that way, and sometimes protecting yourself means holding your ground, then type Team William. There's no right or wrong here, just an invitation to be part of the conversation. So, wherever you find yourself on this delicate divide, get ready because the story is far from over. The comment section is already exploding, wildly divided, with opinions flying in every direction, and it's only getting more intense by the minute. In moments like this, William no longer has the luxury of responding simply as a brother with personal feelings. He's stepping into a much larger role, the man poised to influence the trajectory of this family's legacy for decades to come, shaping how it will be remembered and understood for the next 50 years.
Or that the loyalty that the king has for the public has been forgotten, because Harry may want reconciliation, and I believe that Charles really does want peace. There's a lot going on, but the public may still be waiting for one thing. And that accountability does not extend just to the royal family. It extends to the things that Meghan has done to the public, the UK public, that she called racist. She called her wedding a spectacle. She's done things to the public. Like, when you look at accountability, like, where's the accountability for Meghan and what she has done with the birth of Archie? She didn't have to be accountable for proving anything. Where's Meghan's accountability to the public, the people that the king reigns over?
Forgiving someone on a personal level doesn't automatically mean forgiveness will extend to the entire institution, especially when the stakes are this high. People close to William hint that the icy demeanor we're witnessing isn't really about Archie or Lilibet as individuals. Instead, it's about trust, a fragile bond that, once broken in a family so scrutinized by the public eye, is almost impossible to repair. All it took was one quiet afternoon in Gloucestershire to send shockwaves through years of fragile understanding. But make no mistake, this frosty distance didn't just materialize overnight. It stretches back long before Meghan stepped into the picture or wore a ring. Rumors suggest William was the cautious voice behind the scenes, the brother who repeatedly expressed concerns to Harry. He urged him to slow down, warning him not just once but multiple times. Are you sure about this? Do you really understand how challenging this life will be?
And at this point, I think that the king has made a big mistake meeting with Meghan and Harry. I think, if anything, it should have been quiet on the down low, and there should have been no news about it at all. Regardless of people saying that the king would not meet with his grandchildren, whatever. The majority of the people don't want the king to have anything to do with Harry and Meghan. And I think that's how he should have played it. It's not good. But Project Thaw is a real thing, and they are looking to bring Harry back. The question then becomes, will Meghan come back? Will she come back? Will she show accountability and say she's sorry, and to also make things right with her own family?
These weren't casual remarks, they were serious, pointed questions rooted in a protective instinct. And Harry has openly admitted that these warnings hurt deeply at the time and have only stung more when looking back. Was William the brother who sensed the storm brewing from the very beginning, the one who saw something that others didn't and tried to sound the alarm? It's a complex story of family, loyalty, and the heavy weight of expectations, one where trust, once broken, can change everything. So here's the thing, William's worst fears didn't just come true, they played out almost exactly as he had imagined. Every year since, he's been faced with a wave of criticism telling him he was overreacting, that there was no reason to worry in the first place. But the truth? It's never been that simple. Behind the surface lies a more complicated reality, one that challenges the familiar narrative where William comes off as cold and distant, and Charles as warm and open-hearted. Despite everything, the scathing memoir, the years of almost complete silence between William and Harry, there's a detail many don't realize. William, according to people close to him, has never stopped caring deeply about Harry's safety whenever he's on British soil. Those trusted sources reveal that William, quietly and without fanfare,
King Charles has officially met Meghan, Harry, Archie and Lily at Highgrove House, his Gloucestershire country residence.
At the heart of it, it's grandparents meets and reunited with his grandchildren. That's the initial thing that you have to look at, the human element of it. But of course, and we've discussed it, it's been a never-ending soap opera to get to this stage. Will Meghan come over? Where were they staying? All that. Will she appear at any of the events that he was scheduled to go to?
still plays a role in ensuring the security measures around Harry stay strong during his visits, even if it means staying as far away as possible from him personally. Pause and let that sink in for a moment. The picture of a man so hurt and angry that he would skip a chance to reconcile with his own father. Yet behind the scenes, he's still making sure his brother is safe walking to his car. This isn't the action of someone who's given up on love or family entirely. No, this reflects something more heartbreaking. A man who has stopped trusting his brother, but not loving him. If you've ever experienced a falling out like this with someone you once shared a deep bond with, you know how complex and wrenching it can be. It's a mixture of hurt, caution, and a lingering care that refuses to disappear, even when trust has been broken. This is the shadowy, uneasy middle ground they find themselves in, far from simple labels or easy judgments. In a world where anger can burn bright, but often fades fast, there's a far deeper, more isolating kind of pain that lingers quietly beneath the surface.
And then, of course, the court case, which went so horribly wrong for Harry, has added to the... and Meghan, as a result, probably deciding to keep a back seat on all things, including yesterday, where I have to say Harry looked as if he was enjoying himself with his game face on. He did a TV interview. Yes, it was obviously, there was strictly off limits where they could or couldn't go, but it was still him doing what he does best. But where it goes from here, it's strictly private. Will it remain private? And that will be the acid test for the Sussexes and their sort of relationship with the extended royal family. If they can keep all the details quiet, then that might be a step forward in the way that they conduct themselves, going and particularly relationships with the kids.
A loneliness that runs colder and cuts far deeper than any public feud ever could. Imagine two brothers, separated not just by years but by worlds, each sending a starkly different message on the very same Friday afternoon. Two powerful signals aimed at one family, brimming with unspoken tension, yet remarkably delivered without a single direct public mention of the other. It was as if silence was itself a loaded weapon, shaping a narrative more complex than any words might capture. Across Britain, commentators have eagerly seized on that day, sparking intense debates that show just how much these moments resonate. Yet despite all the analysis and speculation, no one can agree fully on what this day truly meant. One side views it as a groundbreaking statement, a king, Prince Charles, finally choosing to prioritize family above the invisible but unyielding chessboard of palace politics. For so long, the monarchy has been seen as a rigid institution, cold and calculating. But here, some say, at last we witness the monarch putting fatherhood and, by extension, family before any carefully maintained protocol or political strategy. It's a glimpse of something profoundly human, breaking through layers of royal formality. But on the other hand, there's a rival interpretation that paints a very different picture. According to these observers, the same actions reveal a king desperate to rewrite a narrative he fears more than anything: the dreaded legacy of a fractured royal family, remembered harshly by history. They argue this king is so determined to avoid echoing the pain of his predecessor, the image of a monarch whose own family was torn apart and splintered in the public eye, that he is willing to overlook years of public criticism and strained relationships. Instead of public punishment, he offers a quiet, private reconciliation. To this faction, it's a story of damage control, not a heartfelt reunion. What's striking is how both groups found their proof in the same set of carefully chosen words released by Buckingham Palace that afternoon, just 4 short words, yet walked away more convinced than ever that their interpretation was correct. That alone speaks volumes about how carefully measured and deliberately opaque that statement really was. In this game of royal messaging, ambiguity can be just as powerful as clarity and often reveals more about the audience than the speaker. And all the while, behind the tinted windows of the palace, something else was happening. Notice who quietly bore the heaviest emotional burden in this drama, the one caught between history's expectations, personal pain, and the weight of legacy. Those silent efforts, those unseen moments of strength and patience, tell an untold story that no headline or public statement ever could. In the midst of all the public drama and flashing cameras, there's a figure who rarely finds herself in the spotlight, the person no one thought to record last Friday. Kate, caught squarely in the middle of this intense family feud, is reportedly the one quietly trying, time and again, to keep the peace between her husband William and her father-in-law, Prince Charles. Imagine the weight of those delicate conversations. 2 men she deeply loves, locked in a battle over how to manage a very sensitive situation involving a third man, someone who once felt like family, but now stands on the outside of this fractured circle. Insiders describe Kate's tireless efforts as almost Sisyphean, with each attempt at reconciliation meeting resistance, returning her to the drawing board in what feels like an endless cycle. There's something deeply human and almost painfully ordinary about that image. While the world's eyes are glued to sensational headlines and rumor mills churning with speculation, somewhere beneath all that intensity, a wife is quietly working behind closed doors to soften the blow of silence and misunderstanding. In a real home, away from the polished photos of royal polo matches or official engagements, she's trying to calm the storm and bridge a divide few can truly see. It's a kind of pressure and responsibility the cameras will never capture, but one that shapes the very fabric of this story's unfolding drama. Now, ask yourself this. Has Charles purchased a genuine, heartfelt second chance to connect with his youngest son? Or did his actions ultimately serve to deepen the rift, giving William even more reasons to keep him at arm's length? This question lingers in the air, coloring the future of their already complicated family dynamic in ways we can only speculate about. I want to hear your thoughts. Where do you stand on this royal crossroads? Share your opinions and insights in the comments below, because I genuinely read every single one. Don't forget to like if you found this journey through the palace intrigues fascinating. Subscribe for more insider updates, and share this video with friends who love a good royal story. Thanks for joining me on this unforgettable final chapter of the Royal Report. I'll see you in the next one.